Yeah.
Although I was
Spirit
having
is
some
willing, but the flesh is spongy and weak.
the name of my sex tape.
Too much Energon.
Hooray! You're Silverbolt.
These upgrades come with a warranty.
Blah 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 blah. Beast Wars once and for all.
Titor, what have you done?
I am giving this episode no Energon.
What
Yeah.
are you, a Quintesson?
This is no Energon. Fuck it. I can't.
Sigma balls, Gary. No, not that. Ah!
Welcome back, listeners, to another episode of Too Much Energon, your favorite podcast by two 90s kids who like to talk about Beast Wars shit and talk shit about Beast Wars, but also Transformers in general. Today, I have a special host joining me, one of your hosts, NeoCal, from one of the dark side of Cybertron's moons. The one, the only, Siege!
Hey, it's me.
Weren't expecting that, were you?
It is I, the Siege, coming to you live from Cybertronian Moon Beta.
That's right.
Yeah, Moon.
And
Moon.
I am on the other Cybertron moon. Alpha? Is that what it's called?
Sure. Actually, I think there's just Moonbase 1 and Moonbase 2.
Easier to remember that way.
We like Transformers, people. We
Yeah.
swear.
We swears. We swears. Today, Too Much Energon, episode 84. We
Mhm.
have moved on to the War for Cybertron series.
We are now on the number that the G1 formers crash landed on planet Energon back in the original Transformers cartoon. 1984.
1984, that's right.
So this is an honorary episode number of 1984 of Too Much Energon.
Yeah. And much like Twitter, we are obsessed with 1984. However, the year and the Transformers, not so much whatever book that everybody says that they've read that I'm sure they definitely aren't misquoting. Everything's 1984 nowadays, folks, but we are celebrating the Transformers 1984. And with
big
Transformers.
as under the watchful eye of Big Brother Tron.
Big Brother Tron. I feel like Big Brother Tron is maybe Soundwave.
Yeah, probably.
Like
I would say because he can
yes.
send like Laserbeak and Ratbat around to like fly around, and he can send out like
Spy.
Ravage to do some spy shit.
In episode 2, which is the episode we're covering today.
Yeah, of War for
even-
Cybertron Siege.
He even does some spy shit and intercepts a message.
Mm.
So indeed, Big Brother is listening, and his name's Soundwave, and he's not happy. No.
So how are things going, Cal? How we doing?
How we doing? Things are starting. Things are moving. Things are happening.
Things are moving. Things
Yeah.
named Siege.
Yeah, things have moved.
Things have moved for better or worse.
Yeah, for better or worse, but yeah, our HQs are farther apart, but the transmissions still rock.
The spirit is still alive. God damn it!
Yeah.
I was having some technical issues with. Speaking of transmissions, I was having some technical issues with my very old, cheap ass USB Wi-Fi adapter, which
Oh, God.
yeah, for some reason my computer just stopped detecting it until I tried putting it in like 3 different USB ports, and then finally it just started working. And I'm like, oh, okay.
Computers, man, how do they work?
It's sorcery, I tell you.
I don't even know. How does electricity even really work? It's all just magic.
Well, you see, you get Benjamin Franklin out with a key on the end of it,
Right.
and you hold it up into the air, and you wait until you hold it up into the air until lightning strikes the clock tower and sends the DeLorean back to the future.
And then you steal electricity from Benjamin Franklin.
And funnel it directly into the flux capacitor,
And
which is
blah, 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 win the Beast Force once and for all.
which is what makes electricity possible. I don't know.
The funny thing is, we've kind of just one for one summarized the war for Cybertron. Well, that's it, folks. We just gave you the synopsis for the entirety of the war for Cybertron, like pretty accurately, actually. So thank Energon. You have Benjamin Franklin to thank for Energon, and God bless
Marty
Jesus
McFly.
Prime.
Jesus Prime. There is actually a Back to the Future DeLorean time machine transformer. It came out a couple of years ago. His name's Gigawatt.
Right. Yeah, you had mentioned it when it had come out. I recall it now. As soon as you said gigawatt?
Yeah.
Not a gigawatt.
Nope, gigawatt.
The gigawatt is up.
Which, in the Back to the Future movies, they always say 1.21 gigawatts. I've watched Back to the Future with the commentary track on because I'm a nerd. And the reason why is because it is actually gigawatt. The reason why they pronounce it as gigawatt is because no one knew how to pronounce it properly. So they went through shooting this entire movie.
Not a single person on set was like, guys, it's pronounced GIF.
Exactly, yeah. No one told them that it was pronounced gigawatt.
Oh, I thought they were just doing something extra. Huh.
Nope.
Well, you know what? A gigawatt is a new unit of like measurement that the doc invented. How about that?
Gigawatts of Energon needed.
Yeah. We need at least 15 gigawatts of energy to find the Allspark. Shockwave, make it happen.
To find Optimus Prime, heretofore who shall be known as David. Okay, so I need to explain that one.
Yeah.
A little while ago on Twitter, one of our listeners, I think it was Lewis, he's one of our patrons. Me and him were having kind of a laugh back and forth, sharing photos of some of the third-party transformers who usually look exactly like the character.
Yeah.
But because of copyright reasons, they can't have the same name. So the one that absolutely killed me the most is there's a fairly new third-party Optimus Prime that came out whose name is Battle David.
You're not supposed to have human names, but that also makes it funnier.
Yeah, just Optimus Prime is just known as David.
Like, what would Cheetor be called? Like Chad? Like Cheetah Chad.
I think there's a third-party Transmetal Cheetor, and I think his name is Cobalt Commander, Cobalt Kitty Commander, or something like that.
I really want it to be Cobalt Kitty Commander. I could be right, because he's cobalt and yellow. The transmit.
Yep, cobalt and like metallic, the yellow or gold. So we're all about them transmetals. They were all about that chrome paint job.
That's right.
Which chips off over time. Common complaint amongst those
speaking
toys.
Of paint jobs, Siege has pointed out to me that we've been seeing a lot of like just matte paint jobs lately.
On
Siege
cars,
pointed it out on vehicles, real life, IRL. And after he pointed that out, I couldn't not see them like everywhere, and like nice cars, like custom paint jobs and stuff. So that's
we're talking like brand new cars.
Yeah. There was a Corvette that went flying past us on the highway when we were moving. That was it was like a maroon, and then later there was a Porsche that was like forest green. What a time to be alive. And
I ended up I actually, and the reason why I brought this up with Cal a little while ago is because I've always really liked matte paint jobs, and honestly, I think it's because they used to be really uncommon, and I think it all stems from the police cars in RoboCop being straight matte black, like even the hubcaps and everything, just straight matte black. I always thought it was a cool look, so I really like matte paint jobs as opposed to like glossy or metallic. But so because I like them, like I've been noticing them more and more lately. But I swear there is this one, it's a matte purple like Mustang.
Oh, the one we
or something.
passed.
Yeah.
When we were it's a Mustang. Yeah.
Yeah. I've seen it like 4 times. And like we're talking, this is not just in Victoria, but like we're driving back from Up Island and saw the same car. So like I've seen this exact same car like 4 times now in the past like month or so.
What profession on the island would involve going up and down? That would
Oh,
allow you
from Nanaimo, perhaps.
yes.
Making deliveries from Nanaimo down to Victoria.
Yeah, that's kind of anybody wondering like what the hell are they talking about? Oh, get on with the Transformers.
Lots of
The
drugs.
drug traffickers don't like to hide, or they like to hide in plain sight. Fucking Assassin's Creed like bullshit here with their like $100,000 like Corvettes and custom like paint jobs and stuff. And it's like, I mean, I hear the police can't just check your car,
Right.
I guess. Like, what is it? They can pull you over to check your like license and registration, which kind of never happens. If you're
they can pull
Caucasian.
you. They can pull you over just randomly and ask for license and registration.
And here in Canada, they can ask you if they can look in the car, but you don't have to say yes.
But if you have like, say, I don't know, like a baggie of like heroin, like in plain view in your back seat, and the cop like glances over there and notices it, he doesn't need a warrant to search your car.
No, because then it's called, what is it? Just cause or something like that.
Like probable cause.
Probable cause, yeah. But you know what else are painted a nice matte color and purple? Behind Siege, we got the one and only despicable non-arachnid scientist of the War for Cybertron, Shockwave.
Yeah, I was gonna say Shockwave is very much like this show's Tarantulas, even has a similar voice.
Yeah, well, when we had covered, and we're gonna do that like Beast Wars intro like forever, even when we're not talking about Beast Wars shit. Tarantulas is the Shockwave of Beast Wars. Yeah, definitely. But like I'm way more familiar with Tarantula Man.
Yeah.
And not the jury's out on which is more evil. They're both evil scientists, and I don't like them.
Yeah,
There's a theme going on here, folks.
if I recall correctly, I can't remember if it's late in this season of the show or if it's during Earthrise, but Shockwave gets up to some truly horrific shit.
As his Megatron rolls back his what is it? Not humanitarian, cybertrarian. I don't know the word, but as he rolls back the liberties against horrific like testing and like torture, etc. He gets more and more and more powerful.
Yeah, he kind of he gives Shockwave like free reign to be as ethically dubious as he his heart desires.
And we get a little taste of that as he slowly kind of like takes over, and we'll get into that when we start covering it.
But this episode, chapter War for Cybertron Siege, chapter 2, opens picking up exactly where last week's episode left off.
Yeah.
Ultra Magnus has gone to Madison Square Garden to appeal to Megatron, and Megatron's like, "You're what a fucking fool you are for coming here like this." And Magnus is like, "Hey, I don't see it as being foolish. I see it as being hopeful, you know, that we could actually like talk this out. He's like, I'm
He's
the
like,
the
come
lead.
on, I put on like a cool cloak. We
Yeah,
don't
I-
get cold, but I did it just to be cool.
Yeah, I put on this like cloak to like disguise myself, even though I'm literally the only person on Cybertron with this silhouette.
He has those what are those on big truck, like the pipe stacks, the
Like smokestacks.
exhaust, yeah, and they come off of his shoulders, and it's like he's the only one that has that that silhouette.
Yeah,
And indeed,
he's massive too. He's a leader class figure, so he's
as big
he's
as
huge.
either almost or as big as Megatron. There's like what, like 6 Transformers that big on all of Cybertron. So like, and then he like pulls it back. It's kind of like it's that Spider-Man, not Spider-Man effect. It's any superhero where like they just have like a little like, what are those called again? Those
The ones
little
around the
masks.
eyes, domino masks.
Domino, thank you. It's like a little domino mask, or the opposite with Superman, right?
Yeah.
Like he puts on glasses and then like combs his hair over, and he's like, haha, now no one will notice me. Anybody working with Clark is gonna go, our intern? Oh yeah, Clark. The 6'4" guy that's made 300 pounds of muscle? He looks just like Superman.
No,
And
and these guys are not only like would just the average person be able to put that together. These people are reporters too. Like,
and yeah, it's like, oh well, he acts like an apologetic nerd. He's 6 foot, like what? He's 6.5 feet tall, and like just no
He's
human
like
levels of muscle.
he's like 6'4", 280. It's like having the Rock walking around.
Yeah.
Like in your
But he's wearing a hat.
he's wearing a
Who
hat
could
and a
this
suit,
man be?
and he's like got his shoulders slouched, and he's acting like all bumbly and awkward.
You're gonna know.
You're gonna know it's the Rock.
And that's how I feel with Ultra Magnus here.
So Megatron or Ultra Magnus is like, yeah, so I've got I'm the commander of the Autobot army, and I'm officially surrendering.
Well, let's
And so-
talk peace, yo.
So let's talk peace. So he gets thrown into jail, and Megatron, and we get introduced to Shockwave, who we were just talking about. Megatron and Shockwave are talking because Shockwave is like, ah, yes, mighty Megatron, I have the way to win the war with the Allspark cube. And Megatron's like, it's just a legend. Like I can't win a war with fairy tales, basically. And
Shockwave's
Shockwave's
like,
like,
the work of Alpha Trion proves that it is real.
we could send out a reformation wave to completely obliterate and reformat the Autobots into Decepticons. And Megatron's like, I don't like this. I don't think this is the way we should be doing it, you know?
And he's like, but it would be a decisive victory.
Right.
And there would be less casualties. And at this point, at least, at this point, he doesn't just want to murder all the opposition. Like he wants to unify. Bow or die is his mentality at this point. Isn't that nice? For now.
For now, enjoy it while you can.
Magnus,
Magnus overhears this, and he sends a communique.
Because they're talking like right outside his cell.
Right.
You guys need to really think about maybe you should move your base outside of the Madison Square Garden, or at least talk like 20 feet farther away from where the jail cell is.
Yeah. So Magnus overhears this, and he sends out a radio communique to Optimus Prime, warning him of this. And back at the Autobot base, they get this radio communication, and they're like, shit, we got to find the Allspark too. We got to do it before Megatron. And the other Autobots are kind of like,
we barely have enough Energon to like power the lights, keep the freaking lights on in this place. Like, what?
right?
And he's like, yeah, but it might be actually our only chance.
Yeah, fair enough.
So
And
like Shockwave inadvertently helping the Autobots. I mean, that's kind of what's happened here.
sort of, not for long though, because
Uh,
we go back to Madison Square Garden, and the Soundwave shows up and plays a recording of this transmission, and I'm like, really? Magnus was right there. Like, if he was in earshot of you, like, you'd think he would be, like, him talking, sending out this communication
Wait.
would have been in earshot of them.
They were yelling. Wait, that is a really good. That's plot hole. I completely missed that. Them talking right outside his cell was enough for Ultra Magnus to hear.
Yeah,
but him walking 3 feet deeper into his cell and turning around and being like, Optimus, I got some sweet deets, man.
I got the 411 over here, yo.
But they don't hear that.
But they don't hear that. It takes that Soundwave intercepting and recording this radio transmission.
Also, they put him in a cell without like communication jammers. You guys need better facilities.
This is not how you win a war, ladies and gentlemen.
It's real sloppy on their part. And then later, like Megatron like blames Magnus. And I'm like, you're the idiot. He's like, you've proven your allegiances, and like punches him through the Energon like force field.
Right through his like force field. Yeah. It was a cool shot, but
it was, yeah. And I'm like, but you were he could have just hit record and sent you guys talking about it. Okay, I guess that's his fault then.
So Shockwave comes up with the idea of using this to their advantage and creating a diversion for the Autobots. A trap.
Oh, right.
Yeah, a trap, if you will.
Soundwave does a sweet remix of Magnus's voice. Again, like the big brother of Cybertron. And I guess he could just emulate other Transformers voices. Assuming that he has enough like samples of their voice to emulate it.
I mean, AI can do that now. So
yeah, exactly. And the more input you have of them, the more it starts to sound more and more realistic. There's a website that does that, and you read different passages, and the more you put into it, the more you can auto-generate like sentences in your voice. It's eerie. Yeah. Like at like 300 words, it can do a little bit, but it might sound off, or the cadence isn't quite there. But like something like 2000 like words or whatever, it starts to, you could fool people with it. And then at like 5,000 words, it can pick up your highs and lows and how you talk in your sentences, and how if you either go up at the end or low at the end. And it's creepy. I got a little ways into that, being like, oh, I could like mess with people, or I could like auto narrate things. And I'm like, wait a second, I'm just giving this website
free data.
Not only like free data, but like, at what point could like a machine just take over especially if I don't leave the house, at what point could like a machine just kind of take over my life and money?
There's like this like stone-faced like version of you that just shows up and like kicks the like robotically, it like kicks the door in, and
I am here to record TME. What is up, listeners? It is your boy Neo Cal. Dun, 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 dun.
Oh god.
Are you ready to talk about Beast Wars shit? Talk shit about Beast Wars.
What is this Beast Wars shit?
Shut up, the Beast Wars. What the hell is a cheetah anyway?
Oh god, I lost my train of thought.
We're talking about War for Cybertron Siege, right?
Oh, actually,
the ambush.
Quick sidebar. Speaking of AI voices, you know that new Top Gun movie that's out? Top Gun
Not
Maverick.
not the mockbuster.
Yeah, not
the
Top,
actual.
not Top Gun or Danger Zone, which I still haven't seen yet. But no, Top Gun Maverick. What's his name? Val Kilmer, who was in the original film, reprises his role. But he had throat cancer several years ago, so he like basically has no voice. So they actually just used AI to do his lines for him in the movie.
Oddly relevant too. Yeah.
Yeah, just yeah, straight up just AI did his lines using just voice samples from various movies of his over the years.
When all of our childhood movie heroes are dead, we could just continue watching movies with them in it. Ethics aside, they've already been doing that.
Yeah,
I think they did that in Star Wars, didn't they?
Yeah, they've done that a couple of times now. And
it's like, not sure how I feel about that.
Yeah,
I don't, maybe my opinion will change, but I think I'm on the stance of like, don't put dead people in movies unless they were working on the movie and you have like explicit permission, right?
I think like, I don't know. It's a difficult subject with no real clear-cut answer. Because I think in certain cases, like if the families or like the owners of that actor's estate are fine with it, then like go ahead. I mean, they're dead anyway. It's not like
I know Stan Lee is like, put me in every movie for all eternity. Like he loves it.
Yeah, apparently they're planning on like digitally resurrecting. I was reading something about they're planning on digitally resurrecting him for cameos in future MCU stuff.
Yeah. I thought hadn't they already done one?
I don't think so.
I'm just probably thinking of an animated one, not like a live action. Was it a Spider-Man? I thought I might be wrong. I thought they had already made him in like a CG one, like either what was the one with Miles? The animated one, the really cool one.
Oh, Into the Spider-Verse.
Into the Spider-Verse. I know he was in that, but he might have given the voice lines for it beforehand.
Well, and if you're doing like animated stuff, like you could just animate him and use like any random voice clip of him.
Good point. Like like ripped from YouTube. He's in so many interviews that he said Spider-Man so many times that you basically you don't even need an AI to modulate that guy's voice. Oh,
that's right, true believers.
Before he died, he had sat down. I forgot about this. Listeners can fact check me. Stanley sat down and recorded tons of voice lines,
right?
Like just hundreds or thousands of voice lines, so that they could use them in like a future movies with like permission from him while he was alive. I forgot about that. That actually happened. So yeah, we don't need a Stanley AI. He's prepared for everything.
He was practically one himself.
I mean, if somebody told me he was never a real person and he was like actually a mirage like the whole time, I would never be able to tell the difference.
He was just some projection of a like sentient computer on board an alien ship somewhere. That crash landed on Earth like a century ago.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah,
and he wants to make movies. Spider-Man.
He wants to make movies with Spider-Man. Anyway, so big ambush.
Mirage in this? Mirage is in this, but he doesn't get up to Mirage things this episode, does he?
No.
Soon.
So Prime sends a bunch of Transformers off into separate teams to like go to like all of these. Because so essentially what the Decepticons have done have created these like big like signals like all around Cybertron to make the Autobots think that it could be the Allspark, which I'm like, this thing has been missing for like what, like thousands upon thousands of years. You think you're just going to be able to be like, open up your tricorder and hit some buttons and be like, oh, there it is. Like,
I thought that they faked a message from Ultra Magnus, and that's how they got him. That's how they set this trap up. But did they also like put these what are they, like hyper
Like concentrated
concentrated energon
cubes.
cubes?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's what they did. Because they end up
Flawless plan.
I know, right? They end up losing the Energon cube, and Barricade's like, oh, Megatron's gonna be mad about that.
Megatron's gonna be very, very mad.
Um,
Also, who gets buried in the rubble and they think he's dead? Who's the guy running this mission?
I can't remember. I know the Autobot Cog gets like blown to shit.
Cog gets blown to shit. I'm amazed that he's actually still alive. It's been a while since I've watched this, but he arrives kind of alive, so we'll see what happens to him there. But,
I think I'm pretty sure he dies in Earthrise.
And the one that gets Deceptor, trying to look at the subtitles here. He's like purple and yellow. I'm wondering how come Compactor. There we go.
All right,
Yeah,
Compactor.
if I'm wrong, yeah. Compactor is like running this mission, and it's a trap.
Of course.
In fact, what's her name? Like said, hey, this is a trap. Let's not do this. This is dumb.
Elita 1.
Elita 1, right? And Prime's like, yeah, but if it isn't,
Then
now
look out.
why aren't there more Decepticons in this trap? There's like 6. There's Megatron and Soundwave and like all of the.
Well, I was under the impression they set a bunch of different traps, and this is just the ones that these Autobots went to.
Well, they went to the one with Magnus. Magnus's like fake message from Soundwave, being like, hey, I found the coordinates. So you'd think they would go there, but it's just like 6 nobodies in Compactor.
Because you see, the more character models you put on screen, the more expensive.
The more days it takes to render the.
Yeah.
Makes perfect sense. It's well, what happens here is, like there's gunshots, there's a grenade going off. You said it was Cog, right? Gets like half of his torso like blown to shit. I'm like, I guess you can still survive that. And they end up retreating, but Compactor like gets smashed under a building.
Yeah.
And we find out neither side retrieves the high concentrated energon cube.
Well, they Prime like speeds away with like Chromia and the wounded Cog in truck mode.
Truck mode on his back. Yeah, that was cool.
Yeah. So they speed away. They go back to the Autobot base, the Ark, and Wheeljack is like, so the Allspark wasn't there. And Prime's like, no. And he's like, well, tell me you. He's like, but it was a cube of concentrated energon, right? Tell me you got that right. And they're like, no.
Well, he's like,
what?
Okay, Prime, we can't like run the electricity and keep doing all these long range scans because our cloaking device, which is, by the way, how the Autobots have remained undetected. They're not underground or in a secret base. They just have a cloaking device that makes the Ark look like a bunch of rubble and scrap. And he's like, we can't do both, man. You got to pick one. And he's like, keep looking for pictures of keep looking for that Allspark.
Yeah, he's like, well, that's unfortunate about that cloaking device, but keep looking. And Elita One's like, what the fuck's wrong with you, man? Like,
hey, homie, can we have like a word? And yeah, they have a talk in like a hallway in private. And she's like, this is dumb. So, somebody else even says like, hey, permission to speak freely. Who was that? And he's like, is something wrong with your like casket case? Who shit talks? Like, I can't remember.
I think it might have been like Sideswipe or Hound.
Yeah.
Oh, and I forgot to mention that after Magnus defected, Optimus Prime put Elita 1 in charge of the army.
That's right.
So that's why she's questioning his choices left and right during all of this.
And the thing is, maybe some people found her like annoying or whatever. I never did. I read online when I watched it with my partner, a lot of people were like, oh my God, like, why is she's not there to contradict him at all times. She's there to be like, hey, I understand that, but I'm the pragmatist here, and we need Energon to heal ourselves. We need Energon for our weapons. We need Energon for the ship. Like, let's be smart. And I actually really appreciate that.
Yeah, me too.
It's like you can go looking for the Holy Grail all you want, but like, you're not taking any. You're not taking the generator.
Yeah. No, it's and especially this this Optimus Prime like is a bit fanatical, so he kind of needs a voice of reason.
In a way that's we said this when we introduced War for Cybertron. I actually like Prime and Megatron a lot in this, in the way that they're a good guy and a bad guy. I actually think they're both really crazy. Crazy can be like a fun term. Let me rephrase that. They're both kind of insane, and fanatical is a good way of describing both of them.
Yeah.
And
indeed,
that only gets worse for literally both. I there are times when I hate both of them so much.
right. Well, and indeed, there's a scene that we kind of skipped over where
Impactor. That's who gets crushed.
Oh, okay. Ultra Magnus is like sitting at a table with Megatron and is like, hey, you know, we were brothers in arms once, all three of us, we like fought side by side. And Megatron's like, Prime's a fanatic, he's never going to listen to reason. And Magnus is like, but if we all sit down and talk to one another as friends, like maybe
the old times,
like the good old days, maybe we can come to some sort of arrangement. But
that's why he came here. Yeah. And
but
remember, like, you saved my life, and then Megatron's like, and you mine. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. So that's worth something, right? I fucking guess not.
Well, and indeed, Ultra Magnus kind of shot any goodwill he had out the window when he sent this message off to Prime.
I think Megatron's like a dick. If he wanted to talk to him as like equals or treat him as equals, he went there without weapons, and he went there wanting to talk. He's the one who made the move and put him into jail. But when he sent that message out, remember, Megatron was like, because Shockwave was like, shall I commence with the plan? And Megatron was like, no, I need time to consider. And it's almost like, that's kind of extreme. I'm going to think about it. I'm going to wait on it a day. And kind of like Ultra Magnus sending out that message was like, oh, well, fine, now I guess we're doing that anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And I noticed that after he like punches him and he's like, haha, like the Autobots like running into the trap is your fault now. Megatron avoids a lot of blame by projecting in this, doesn't he? Like a lot. Like everything is everyone else's fault except his.
Well, and indeed, he like gets super pissed at Barricade when he finds out. He's like, yeah, one of my best soldiers destroyed, and we lost an entire cube of concentrated energon. Who's the idiot responsible for this? And Barricade's like, yeah.
I mean, technically Impactor was in charge, but he's and that's another villain trope that he doesn't lean too far into. He doesn't execute Barricade.
No.
Right? But he does give him shit. I hate that trope. Showing how evil you are by like executing your underlings. That just means you have less followers.
It just means you have less troops.
Yeah.
This is where we find out that the because here initially the Decepticons think that the Autobots got away with the Energon cube.
Yeah.
And I think it's Shockwave or Soundwave who shows up and says that the Autobots don't have it either. So they're like, oh, all right, well, where is it?
And they're like, when's the last known location? And they're like, it disappeared in the middle of the battle.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you sneaky little shit.
Who else is it going to be besides Bumblebee here, right?
Yeah. What a sneaky little turd. During the fight, too?
Yeah, during the fight. He
Like,
just
you didn't even earn that. You just...
snuck in and stole it. And he's like, man, I could get at least 100,000 Deceptibucks for this.
That's worth what? Like 10 Deceptiblow jobs? Auto jobs.
Auto jobs. Auto jobs and Deceptifucks.
Auto jobs and Deceptifucks. Yeehaw! We're going to the peelers, little buddy.
And then the episode ends.
Oh yeah, with Bumblebee like walking around with it being like, I'm gonna be so rich, and I'm like, what? You're gonna buy a house? Like, are you aware of what's happening on like the planet? Like, what good is even money at this point? But I
Maybe buying a ship to get off of Cybertron.
get the fuck out of Dodge. Yeah, go for a rip. Yeah, and that's it's episode 2 of the War for Cybertron Siege. Here on Too Much Energon, we have a very special Energonic rating system. That it's a 3-tier system. It starts with not enough Energon, a sufficient amount of Energon, to too much Energon. It is bad, okay, good. Siege, what are you giving episode 2?
It's a middle of the road, sufficient amount of Energon. The episode was fine, filled with plot holes though.
Usually when the more we talk about something, I'm like, yeah, that's right. And then this episode, it's like, well, wait a second. This happened and this happened. And well,
Yeah.
Wait a second. How did nobody like notice or shoot it like Bumblebee? So there's 2 or 3 plot holes like hanging out.
Yeah, it was
around
kind of
there.
just a mediocre episode in general, but it had a few like gaping plot holes in it.
Yeah.
So
Just like a few gaping plot holes like the giant one in Cog,
yeah, exactly.
where he's more whole than Transformer at one point.
He's more whole now than Machine.
We can rebuild him. Weaker, dumber. We have the technology.
Just not enough Energon. We have a sufficient amount of Energon to rebuild him in a mediocre state.
That's a good, you know what? And I'm mirroring that sentiment. We have a sufficient amount of Energon to build him in a mediocre state. We got plywood and duct tape. What more do you want, man?
What more do you need? Well, that was episode 84 of Too Much Energon. Best way to support the show, go to patreon.com/lasercomb, LAZORCOMB. We're starting at the $5 and up tier. You get access to bonus preamble audio of this and all the other shows that we do week in and week out. You also get a monthly-ish commentary track and a whole bunch of other stuff. $10 tier. You get our weekly news and current events program, Lasercomb Tonight. You also get to pick a show for us to review a random episode of on our other podcast, the Lasercomb Podcast. We're currently wrapping up in the process of wrapping up our latest round of Patreon sponsored shows. So go check that out. Patreon.com/lasercomb. Follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/lasercomb, or you can follow the show on Twitter at Too Much Energon, or me at Lasercomb. Cal, you are at?
And I am at NeoCal. I'm like, why am I thinking about the only social media that I use? NEO_KAL.
We'll be back next week with episode 85 of Too Much Energon, where we will be talking about War for Cybertron, me, episode 3, because I'm the Siege. Friend of
And
mine.
we're going to be talking about after that. So that's right. The first part is called Siege. The second part is called Neo, and the third part is called Dan. How did that go?
Christopher Siege, Dan or Cal Earthrise, and Dan Kingdom. That's what he came up with. Yeah. Friend of mine made the joke recently. She was like, so are you calling it War for Cybertron me? And I'm like, no, but I definitely will now that you've said that.
War for Cybertron, me.
War for Cybertron, me.
All right, Battle Davids and Cheetah Jeremys. Until next time,
So yeah, keep an eye out for that. And until then, I've been one of your hosts, The Siege.
And I'm NeoCal.
And until next time,
Till all are one.
freedom is the right of all sentient beings. It's like one of the cheesiest lines in Transformers history, and they keep going
I
back
like
to
it.
it. You
Leave it
would.
alone.
Bye-bye.